I was thinking about how like I wanted to start off this podcast and like get into it. And then I go back to after our call yesterday, what you messaged me
Mhm.
and that audio message. And I like it was hard for me to wrap my head around that and like what you must have gone through and your family must have gone through when that happened. So can you walk me through what happened that day?
Hey, everybody, before we start this podcast, I have a quick opportunity. Whoever comments a question and gets the most likes, that question I will ask next week's guest. But the catch is you have no idea who the guest is. So be wise, ask a creative question, and enjoy the episode.
I mean, pretty much. When I was a freshman at Brown, my dad decided to run for mayor. Or this is a little into senior year of high school,
Mm.
and I had a pretty normal freshman year of college. Probably getting too drunk at some things that I should have, and then I got a call from my dad on Valentine's Day. It was the day after the Super Bowl. He told me that he was okay, but someone came into his office and fired 6 shots directly at him, and
Holy cow.
it was it was scary for me. I didn't really know what was going on, and yeah, it was. I mean, I didn't really know how to react, and what was pretty, yeah, it's something I don't always talk about a lot, but I think it's important because I watched my dad after that almost switch into a mode where he worked even harder. And that's what motivates me every day. I mean, there's not a day that goes by, Anthony, that I don't think about the shooting. And
Yeah.
not because, like, I mean, I wasn't in that room. And I'm so thankful the person that was in that room after the guy fired the 6 shots actually closed the door to, I think, save my dad's life. And it just because of the way after someone tried to take his life, he worked even harder. And, now he is the mayor and working to make real change in the city. And that's just so motivating to me that, like, the easy way out would have just been, not do anything. And now he's still waking up at 6 a.m. every day running. Like, he just crushed a marathon sub 2 hours this year. Yeah, super motivating for me.
So was he in office at that time or he wasn't?
Yeah, to give you the play by play. So, no. He wasn't in office. So, my dad was just a lifelong entrepreneur, honestly, and then decided to run for mayor after he sold his company during COVID.
Okay.
And then he was just in his campaign office, doing a Monday morning meeting. That's pretty normal. And then someone walked into the office, fired 6 shots directly at him. And then as he was going to reload, one of my dad's colleagues bravely closed the door. And then they all barricaded, threw chairs to the wall, whatever. And then he ran away, and that was it. One bullet came so close that it grazed my dad's sweater. I mean, there's still a hole in the back of my dad's sweater today. How it like hit the back of my dad's sweater and didn't kill him, I have no clue.
It hit the back of his sweater.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to send you a photo after this, but it's like one of those things where I still don't even understand how that's humanly possible.
Holy cow. So for for the guy to get into the like I'm just trying to understand the picture though. Like he's in a is he in a room like this and the guy walks in the office and it's just a conference room and he fires the bullets but he never steps in the conference room and that's where they're able to shut the door? Or is your dad just in open of a building and they close the front door?
So my dad's office was within a building that was open to the public,
Yeah.
and you know, um, in his specific office, the person just opened the door, didn't say a word, like stood in the doorway, fired 6 shots from like 15 feet away, and then like yeah, didn't say anything, and then they just essentially shut the door in his face.
Yeah. Holy cow. Like if you go back to that day when you get that phone call and you hear what happens, are you like, "Dad, you got to stop trying to go into politics. Like, please do not do this." Are you supportive? Like what's going through your head?
My initial gut reaction was actually to make fun of it because I didn't really know how to react. And
Yeah.
then once I, had some people I like didn't really know that well at Brown show me like the New York Times article and were like, "Is this your dad?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, it hit me like this is crazy." And I had asked him if like, is this still something he wants to do? And I think he had thought about that with my mom. Again, like I'm not in Louisville with my parents. I'm like at Brown, just kind of like processing it on my own.
Right.
And, ultimately, I think that gave him even more resolve to work harder and try to work towards, fighting gun violence.
Oh, so it's like fire me up. I'm gonna double down. I'm gonna keep pushing. That's that's a crazy story. What do we know the motive for it?
I'm not entirely sure if it's like um out there or not personally.
Yeah.
What I at least tell myself and think is the case was that it was anti-Semitism related,
Okay.
but I don't know if that's like I don't know. I haven't even spent that much time thinking about like that
Yeah.
part, to be honest. Like I
It's
don't think it's ever one thing that like is like, oh, like, my dad did something, so like someone shot him. Like I don't think it's ever like one thing someone does, that like leads
right.
to the trigger. I think it's like a amalgamation of things. Just like when you get into school, it's not just like your ACT score, it's like multiple things.
Right. Dude, I was doing some research on that and I saw the guy got bailed out. Like he got put on bail and he was let out. How the how does that even happen? Like how does that make you feel? How does that make your dad feel? I'd be tripping.
I'm gonna have to talk to you more about that when we're not recording, but it was crazy. So essentially, the shooting happened. He was released on bail. I think it was like 48 hours. The shooting was on a Monday. He was released on bail on Wednesday. And then he got arrested again for federal charges of tampering with an election. I think that was the charges.
Okay.
And then, so then, yeah, so you got bailed out and then arrested again.
You want to hear something crazy because like obviously this is super prevalent too with like what just happened on a national scale with like Charlie Kirk
Yep.
and everything. And do you know who Chase Hughes is? Chase Hughes. He's have you ever heard of that guy before?
No.
Okay, so he worked for the government. And essentially what he did was he was like a behavioral ops specialist. So he's the guy when the United States captures a terrorist and they bring the terrorist into a room and try to get him to open up. He is the guy that's going in there and asking him the questions and building trust and rapport and essentially manipulating the guy to come out and admit what's going on. But
Hmm.
Chase Hughes, it's super interesting. He's got a great book. But he made a video kind of about the Charlie Kirk thing. But it relates, I think this relates to kind of what happened with your dad. But the underlying premise is like psychological operation. Have you ever heard of a psyop before?
No.
Oh, dude, you're in for some good stuff right now. So I'm gonna read the definition so I don't screw this up.
Okay.
But essentially what it is what a psyop is it's a strategic military or political operation that uses communication and information to influence emotions, attitudes, and behaviors of people to achieve a political or military objective. For example, a psychological operation that the United States did was during the Vietnam War. And essentially what they did is they got intelligence that the Vietnamese people believed that ghosts were real. And so essentially like when someone died, the ghost stayed with them and they'd still talk to them. And so what the United States did is they hacked into like the Korean radio system and they would play on the radio system these like different voices telling the people, I should have surrendered. It's not worth it. I should have surrendered. And this infiltrated the minds of all the people. And you're trying to manipulate them to say, take an anti war stance. That's essentially what a psychological operation is. But this video that Chase just made, essentially what he did is like, there's a formula for a psyop. Now, you ready for this? Do you want to hear this formula?
Okay, let's hear it.
All right, so the formula is three things. Number one is you want to isolate the target. And how you isolate the target is it's like me and you. Let's just say we disagree politically. I should not be friends with you. I don't want to talk to you. I should not date anybody that disagrees with me. That's number one, isolate the target. Number two is an echo chamber. They try to surround you in an environment where every single thing you hear just reinforces your standpoint. What is the echo chamber? It's social media, it's TikTok, it's Instagram, it's your algorithm. So you only get pumped stuff that you relate to. And then lastly, and this is the most dangerous thing, it's called tribal thinking. And so essentially what happens when tribal thinking is when you get someone into tribal thinking, everything that you do serves as righteous, and everything that everybody else does that disagrees with you is evil, and they're the enemy. And it just splits this ginormous division, and it can divide a country, and it can divide people, and it can divide friendships, and it can divide family. And that's essentially the formula for a psychological operation, which what Chase is saying, and it totally is happening within the United States right now with two-party system. And I wonder if part of the rationale behind like what happened with your dad, I mean, it's a psychological operation. Like the guy views your dad as this guy's evil enemy. There's righteousness in taking him out, and it's a scary thing.
Yeah, it's crazy the world we live in. I mean, like I just like to use it as fuel for myself to motivate me to wake up every day and work out before I get my actual work done. And that there's really no excuse. Like it doesn't matter now that my dad's the mayor.
Yeah.
Regardless of what happened in the city the night before, he's waking up, he's running, and then doing what he's got to do during the day.
And what's going on with you right now? Because I've got a long list of accomplishments from you. But what stage are you at right now? Like, what are you doing?
Right now, I have to be. I'm trying to think of how I want to answer this. Okay.
Yeah.
Right now, right now I'm an associate consultant at Bain, and I'm really focused on delivering as much value as I can to that company.
Yeah.
On the side, I am hosting a podcast similar to yours with Matt Huang called Connection Accepted, where we interview LinkedIn's top 1% of creators and try to learn as much as we can from them.
Have you started the podcast?
So as we're recording this, as of today, there are 2 podcasts out where me and Matt just interviewed each other, but we have a lot more episodes coming with guests like Marshall Sandman, who's the business behind people like Paris Hilton, Griffin Johnson, Josh Richards, a bunch of other people. Jason Alvarez, Cohen Apopple, a lot of cool other people that we're excited to share. And we have a good friend, William Lewis, too, who's producing it as well.
What's the deal with LinkedIn?
So the main thesis behind the podcast was part of the time I'd spent on LinkedIn this summer, and Matt had too. And this summer I have got 3 million impressions on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And, I just seen the impact of the social media platform. I think, going back to my viral LEDs experience, one of the things that I think worked so well for us was Sims's 6'5" and blue eyes that really gave him the confidence to go viral and actually helped him go viral, which, I think it is similar to you. And it, for me on LinkedIn, that 6'5" and blue eyes is, graduating from an Ivy League school and going to Bain. And I think it's half that and half the also confidence to post about it. And that's what's gone so well. So between Matt is what gave me the confidence to post. And I also think LinkedIn as a platform is going to continue to grow. And I can get more into that later too.
Yeah, we can touch base on the LinkedIn, but I think a lot of people also know you, or like I came across you from the viral LED stuff. Like you kind of blew up on social media a little bit. What started viral LEDs?
Yeah, viral LEDs was honestly crazy. Before I knew it, we went from me and Sims just making some LEDs in my garage to having shipped over 15, 20,000 of these things and getting an actual manufacturing company to do it. It pretty much started as me and Sims loving LED lights. We'd had a unit on it in high school. And then we posted about it on TikTok once. It blew up. It took us about 3 months after that viral video to gain the confidence to actually start this business. We were pretty scared of failing and everything. And, we eventually moved up from there, figured out how to make more at a time outside of my garage. And it was, I learned so much from it and matured so much from it.
So you posted so you originally, you want to know something interesting. So you originally posted a video just to show off these LEDs that you made for yourself. Is that right?
Yep, just for fun. Yeah.
You want to know something interesting? Something I found, because I have a friend, he's actually been on this podcast too. His name's Ethan Williams. Genius. And so I know a guy and he's like, yo, like Ethan is is going to be a billionaire someday. He's like, there's not many people that are going to be a billionaire. This kid's going to be a billionaire. But where I'm going with this is he was in the sneaker space. So he was sneaker reselling. And then it just got to a point where like he was getting so fed up with all the shipping rates and he was shipping so much stuff and it was hard to track inventory and whatever. And so he essentially made an app called Sire. And what Sire is it was only made to serve him and make his shipping processes easier. He didn't ever plan on making this a business. Like he was so doubled down in sneaker reselling. But then it started working so much and friends heard about it. They're like, yo, you should put this out to the public. And then he put it out. Big, massive company right now. I did a little partnership with them before. But I think a lot of entrepreneurs, what they do is they end up just creating a product that they like for themselves without even intent to go out and sell it to others. But sometimes those are the best types of businesses.
I totally agree. I mean, that's what I did this summer too, with Place to Place. So, okay. So riffing off of that point of really just doing what you love. I loved, booking flights for my family. It isn't a glorious thing, but I like the logistics and going from Providence
what do you like about the logistics?
I don't know, maybe it's the control aspect, helping people out and just having it done. I don't know. I just like it. And I like trying to find a deal too and getting an edge on someone else. I think that's what I like the most, the competition of it and trying to find the best way possible from A to B. So what I had done going from Brown to Louisville, home for the Derby, is opposed to going from, Providence to Louisville and having a layover in BWI or Atlanta and paying $1,000 because that's what it costs to go to the Derby. We flew from Providence to Cincinnati it was like, $150 per person on Breeze, and then Ubered from Cincinnati to Louisville. Yeah. And then I was like, wait, like, why don't, this is easy math to do. Check all the surrounding airports, add in the Uber cost. And that's exactly what we did. And a lot of other people seem to have the same problem this summer. And just by posting on LinkedIn, we went from 0 to 10,000 users in 8 weeks, which was crazy.
And that's from how many LinkedIn posts?
Gotta be probably 500, to be honest. I mean, I was posting 4.5 to 5 times per day.
Really? Do you think, because you've had a lot of social media success with business, what do you think about the concept of quality versus quantity?
I think it's a great question, and it's something that I fight with every day. Now that I have a pretty busy day job, I'm not posting as much, but I think quality is inherently what drives a post to go viral. But for me, I didn't inherently know what quality was. So if I could post the top 10% of my post every time, I would do it. But the post that didn't have that quality wouldn't be seen by that many people. And that was a great data point for me. It just took me, an extra 200 posts to get that quality metric down for me on LinkedIn.
Okay. And something I've noticed from your LinkedIn, right? Like I was trying to see like all the stuff you've started. Like obviously I know Viral LEDs. You went to Brown, you're working at Bain. You have this other thing that you started over the summer. So you've done a lot. My question is, what's stopped you from really doubling down on a business and just going full in? Because even when you were back in the days of Viral LEDs or some of your other stuff, you're still working internships, right? So correct me if I'm wrong, but have you ever really like just doubled down and went full in on a business?
The closest thing to that was this summer on Place to Place when I did it, where I didn't have anything else going on in my life at the time. And that was really fun, but I did have that start date of my job looming.
Yeah. But is there a reason for not ever just fully doubling down on something? Because for example, when I do it in my situation, I've been in the same way. I don't think I've really ever tripled down on something without doing something else. And when I think about why, part of it comes from I want to have a bunch of different things going on as safety nets, right? Like if I fully just quit my job and I were to go in on social media, well, guess what, Anthony? Now the pressure's on and you got to figure something out. And actually, I think that's part of the reason why I started this podcast too. Like now I love it. But at the time, like my whole thing was I just want to do short form social media. But like enough is never enough. And I'm like, I want another outlet. And so I started this. But at a certain point, I don't know how good that is. And is that going to affect all of my different ventures? Maybe. But like, do you relate to something like that?
I do. And I think what it boils down to me for is like, Anthony, I don't think you could spend a productive 12 hours a day on your short form and podcast. I mean, you could, but I don't think the results would be the same as spending 5 or 6 hours right now, because I think the compounding 5 or 6 hours is going to yield very similar results to even if you were to spend 12 hours. And I feel the same way with my podcast or other things I've started before. If I were to go full speed, like I think like John Hu is a great example of Stan. He was building his business in business school for a year and a half. And after it finally got big enough, then he dropped out. So I don't think I'm at a place right now where anything is big enough worth dropping out of.
No, I'm not talking about right now. Like let's go back to the days of viral LEDs or something like that. Like you had explosive growth on social media. You were partnering with an Addison Ray, a Griffin frickin' Johnson. I'm sure there's
Yeah.
other people. But I mean you were still doing like internships and stuff at the time, right?
Virally, so I actually wasn't doing internships during our peak viral LEDs time, but I still was in high school and playing tennis, which was a pretty big time commitment. And I think at that time in my life, I wasn't, I didn't believe in myself 100%. I don't know if Sims totally did, my co-founder either. It honestly just laid into our hands. It was crazy how fast we growed, and it was hard for us to believe and, deal with. Like the store was growing so fast for us at the time.
Yeah.
We had to shut it down because there was so much demand. It was crazy. But that's given me the confidence. If something like that were to happen again today, I think I could handle it better.
So you had to shut the store down because it was growing so fast. And how old are you at the time when this is going on?
We're 18 and we're having days where we're seeing a Shopify have $50,000 of orders in a day. And we're thinking to ourselves, how can we possibly fulfill these? We've got to shut the store down, because you got to keep in mind, this is 2020. We're dealing with a lot of the same problems we're dealing with today between tariffs and getting things in from China. I mean, I never wired more than like $10,000 before and had to figure out how to get this supply chain moving. And that's why we had to shut it down. I mean, we eventually got everything up and running again, but it for a start, yeah, we were worried.
What was the most amount of money you made in a day?
I think our highest revenue day, I'll never forget it. We did $62,000 revenue day. It was crazy. It was hard to believe, because when we had shut down the store, we had so much pent up demand that we just saw an absolute pop, and it was a good day.
Yo, you know what? That's actually, let's just say you were making anything. It's not even a bad strategy, right? It's one of the seven, what is it? One of the 7 factors of influence is scarcity. It's like you shut down your store and everyone's like, "Oh my God, there's so much hype here. I got to go in and do it." But I really want to understand, like help paint a picture for me and the person that listening to this right now. Like you start getting insane amounts of sales on Shopify. What is going through your head, and what issues are you dealing with, and how are you solving them?
A lot of problems. I think, one is, how are we going to get these lights from China to the US? So that's the first part of the supply chain. Are we going to, how are we going to like pay tariffs? And can our supplier that we're using on Alibaba right now make this many for us? The answer was yes, and we had to pay the tariffs, which were expensive at the time. I think we paid like $1,200 just like per shipment, because
Wow.
things had a 20% tax coming from China. And then once they were here, we're like, okay, how are we going to fulfill 1,000, maybe 5,000 orders? And we're in high school. We can't just work in my garage for 12 hours a day. So that's when this fulfillment company, HI Supply Chain Solutions, came to the rescue, where we could give them the product and then we'd pay them too to make it and ship it across the world and to 50 other countries.
So you what do you what is a company in the United States? They're now making your product? You're not using China to make the product anymore.
So we're no longer working on viral LEDs. After we stopped posting on social media, our sales almost plummeted,
Yeah.
honestly. But at our peak, what we were doing is I had a relationship with a supplier on Alibaba. We had our own patent pending, like specifically made product just for us. Like this was not a drop ship thing.
Mm.
And we'd have that shipped to HGI Supply Chain Solutions, which was a fulfillment company. And what they would do is we had taught them our process. I would go to the fulfillment company after school, help them and teach them how to make the lights. And then we'd pay them on a per unit fee to, uh, do a combination of assembly for us
Yeah.
and then pack it up and ship it for us.
So what was the social media strategy that launched all of this?
I learned so much from social media about this. And I think the main strategy was to
Yeah.
post about the product organically. Posting organically drove us much more sales and impressions than getting influencers to, which is kind of shocking. At our height, we had been on Addison Rae, Bryce Hall, the Hype House's YouTube video. I mean, anyone you could imagine. But when we got on Addison Rae and Bryce Hall's story, I thought we were going to be multimillionaires and that we'd be dropping out of high school. But the reality is nothing really happened to our business. But when Sims would post, who has 300,000 followers dedicated to LED lights, and he'd post organically, that would drive a lot of sales for us. So that was our strategy.
Do you think that
Sorry.
No, you're good.
But
You're good.
posting on
Continue.
Sims' account was our strategy, and that's what worked so well.
Do you think it's more of, man, like these two 18-year-old kids, they're founders, they're passionate about this, I want to support them? Or do you think it's because your target avatar was all following this account?
Most of the people buying our lights were girls aged like 14 to 18.
Yeah.
And I think what drove so much success for us was those organic posts because, or at least my conspiracy, is that when Sims post about the lights in a thirst trappy way, it's finding people who want to see that thirst trap and also those LED lights. When Addison Rae posts, you don't even know what you're there to consume really.
Yeah.
But when you're seeing Sims' content, there's a deliberate call to action and there's a deliberate like reason it's on your page, and it's to get these lights. And I think that's what has done us well so far, finding that format and sticking with it. And that's what I would want to find in every aspect of social media businesses going forward.
What do you mean thirst traps?
I'll have to send you one of the videos, but it was, I would try this and Sims would try it. Sims is much better at it than me, but you'd show your camera to the face with some good lighting like this.
Yeah.
And then you have the lights in the background to try to hook them in, do a nice little transition, and then just show the lights for the next 10 or so seconds. Thirst traps, like, have you ever heard of thirst trapping before?
I know it. When I think of thirst
Okay.
trap, I'm like, my shirt's off, my pants are probably off. I'm like,
Maybe not to that extreme, but we were close.
People. Okay, so this guy would like take a shirtless video or just get good lighting and make like a smolder face and then show the lights after.
Exactly.
And how did you end up getting Addison Rae and Bryce Hall?
So we pretty much just moved up the influencer ladder. We started with, I didn't remember the first people, but we would start with lower. I didn't even want to say lower tier influencers, but we got through Addison Rae and Bryce Hall by starting with influencers that had a smaller following. And then when those influencers with a smaller following, then some influencers with larger followings than them saw it. And we pretty much kept on going up the clout ladder, I guess, for lack of a better term, until we ended up getting on a FaceTime call with Griffin Johnson. And then Addison Rae was in the background of that. So then we were showing them what we were making. So then Addison wanted some too. And we'd send them to both of them. They loved it and put it on their stories. And that's kind of how that happened. And then from that, we've actually stayed in touch with Griffin Johnson too, which was crazy because I ran into him at the Derby this year, which
Yeah.
was an awesome time to see him too. And he totally remembered. He's like one of the most down to earth people and nicest celebrities you'll ever meet.
Yeah, and we were talking about that. What happened at the Derby when you saw him?
At the Derby, as we were just walking to enter the Derby, I saw Griffin in a pink jacket, and he's been getting so much press through Sandman. I, of course, had to say hi, not only because of Sandman and to root him on, and my entire family was cheering for Sandman, but also
Yeah.
to say hi because of our previous Viral ADs experience. And he remembered everything. It was awesome to just connect, hang out, and we had even spent some time the week leading up to the Derby too, just to see what it's like to live in Louisville, show him around a little bit, a good time, and hopefully I
Yeah.
think he'll be back many more times with some of his more horses.
Sandman, uh, is that a horse or is that a movie? Like, what is Sandman?
Sandman was the name of his Derby horse this year.
Wait, he had a Derby horse.
He had, I think, 1% of a Derby horse, and he was pretty much the face of horse racing at the Derby. It wasn't just middle schoolers going up to him that liked him from the Sway Boy days. He had a lot of grown adults going up to him from his. I mean, he really became the face of the horse racing industry at the Derby this year
I
through
remember
Sandman.
I remember one video from him. Him and he has that I think his girlfriend's name's Macy, right? The blonde
Yep,
girl.
Macy.
They made some like viral whatever videos, like 10 seconds. It was a trend at the time. That's what I remember. I didn't know that he was like getting in the sports or the like the racing industry with the horses. But that like leads me, you want to know what's interesting? And it's the same concept with like the Paul brothers. It's like right now you see people catch their fame doing like just like stupid stuff. You're like, "Oh, yo, this is a joke. Like this person's not a businessman." Like Griffin Johnson, Bryce Hall, what are they doing in the Sway Boys? They're just making thirst traps and it's pure brain rot entertainment. Jake Paul and Logan Paul back in the day with like doing what's that app called? What is Vine?
Vine.
Yeah, they're on Vine and they're doing YouTube, just stupid stuff. But then boom, they evolve. And now they're legit businessmen, like huge companies, Jake Paul deodorant, the W brand. You have Logan Paul with Prime. Both of them are doing some sort of professional sport. It's like the evolution from a creator. Josh Richards is another guy. Like he's an investor, he's an venture capitalist in a ton of different businesses. Isn't that just interesting to think about? Like someone that you would never think would do this can evolve and get to a point like that. And I'm sure you know these people better than I do, but would you say like when you met Griffin Johnson at first, you're like, oh, yo, like this guy is going to do something this cool someday and have this much credibility? Or were you a little bit like, no, he's going to fade out?
Oh no, you can totally tell Griffin Johnson's a really smart business person. And
Really?
Macy's also brilliant when it comes to social media. I also have to call out before I forget that Prime is also made in Louisville, Kentucky, which is awesome for the Louisville brand and
Dang.
isn't excited. But yeah, I mean, you can totally tell when you meet someone like Griffin and Macy that they mean business and they are really smart when it comes to social media, business, investing in things. Like Griffin was an investor in Poppy and just cashed out big because of that.
Oh my God, I know. Dude, 2 bill. So you are an entrepreneurship or you are an entrepreneur based on all the stuff you've done. And you mentioned like you can look at someone and you can tell like, yo, like they have this and they are a smart business person and they're about it. And you have those qualities too, but like from your perspective, what is that? What are you seeing in these people?
Well, I don't know if I can see if someone's an entrepreneur that well, but if I were to guess, I think when thinking about someone like Griffin or some of the other successful entrepreneurs I've been fortunate to meet, I think they're very self motivated because to post a lot on social media or to spend a lot of time on a business takes a lot of self belief, almost to a crazy level of extent to believe in
Yeah.
yourself because even as I'm sure you're posting on social media too that a lot of your friends are making fun of you for it, and to have that level of self-confidence is really admirable and something I try to have in myself every day.
Do you ever get torn apart with some of the stuff you post about?
Oh yeah, I mean, especially when you have posts that don't get as much love as you thought. Like it's tough. There's no way around it. Like you can't act like that. Social media views don't impact how you feel. Like that's just part of it. Like and sometimes it
Yeah.
just feels like you're getting rejected, but to you just that's when you have to like tell yourself to get stronger and that the only way to move forward and make an impact is to going past that feeling.
Yeah, so the yesterday actually, and do you know Rajan Cheetah, the luxury cabin guy?
I actually don't know him well, but as before I was preparing for this podcast, I've watched half of that one and I watched the Zan Carter one before.
All right, fire. Both of them are amazing. Like they're very cool guys. But Rajan was in New York this past weekend with like his gang. I'll say his gang. It's like it's Yanni, the guy that does the I'm rehabbing a bowling alley. You've seen this guy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. I've seen it.
Okay, so that guy, there's another guy named Jeremy that does some sort of development. There's a guy named Keegan Shivers that does development. Renzo, his partner, who is his real very good guy. I spoke with him for the first time, but we were all talking about social media, and Yanni, and I may be pronouncing his name wrong, but he was saying like every creator goes through a cringe period. And his example was he's like, yo, in the beginning days of posting, what I would do is I'd send out a post and my mom would call me and she'd be like, don't ever post something like that again. Like that's cringy. Like I'm watching that and I'm your mom and like it's making my skin crawl. And he's like, everybody's got to get through that phase where there's some barrier of the cringe and stuff. And I gave the example like I'm going back and watching some of the videos from last year at college, like in the beginning, and I got a lot of hate. But at the time, I'm like, yo, why are people giving me hate? And then I go and watch the videos again, and I'm like, holy shit. I can see why I was getting hate. Like you're not even trying to be like cringe, but sometimes it's just happened. But it's like you need to kind of soak in that period and learn the craft a little bit. And then eventually I think you get out of it. But no, it's a interesting point that you brought up. But yeah, bro, cringe is something else.
I think it's really important to go through that phase. And the reality is you're cringe until something works. Like,
Right.
people would tell me place to place is something that is a good idea, but they wouldn't use it. And then it's like over 3 million people saw it and 10,000 people used it. So it wasn't that bad of an idea, but it just like takes some time to get through it.
Do you feel pressure? We're going off topic a little bit, but with your dad in office, do you feel pressure and you have to live up to a certain expectation?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm so fortunate to be raised by my mom and dad, and it's honestly a pretty new thing for me for my dad to be in office for my whole life. Between zero to going to Brown, my dad was just Craig Greenberg normally, and now that he's mayor, I think I've honestly gained not that I didn't respect him before, but a new level of respect for his work ethic because it's so in public and, when I was home this summer, I would see him wake up every day at 5, 6 a.m. max to run on the treadmill and get going. Like he's running with the policemen, running with the firemen. And that's just, shown me a new level of work ethic and dedication that I don't think I had before and has motivated me to keep going.
But when I say pressure though, I think of the preacher's son. So think of like a pastor. And it's like, okay, your dad's the pastor. You can't be seen going out and partying and doing what I'm doing and getting back in the day at college and getting banged up and like going to flirt with girls and like that's like you can't be seen doing that because you're the pastor's son. Is it the same thing for your dad being the mayor?
Well, I still have plenty of fun at Brown. And the reality is, at Brown, no one really knows. And even when you're in Louisville, most people don't recognize me because I'm not someone that would be recognized because I'm not the mayor myself. And I'm
Okay.
fortunate that, my dad's given me a lot of freedom and opportunity, and I don't feel any pressure to act a certain way or um, when I'm out and about. in Louisville.
Do you ever think you'd try to follow his footsteps?
I'm flattered you asked that question, but honestly, um, I'm flattered by the question, but I honestly don't have any ambitions to run for office. I think it's really admirable what he's doing for the community, but I'm so more motivated by, you know, delivering an impact through entrepreneurship and other
Yeah.
ways that motivate me more than running for office.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It's I think at some point, and I heard this somewhere, it's like, oh, like as you age, there's a couple different avenues where you like give back. Like you give back to community, you give back in religious purposes, or you give back in politics. And this is pure just like, yo, like we're 22 years old. If you're 22 or 23, like we're nowhere near that point, but it's kind of fun to think about at some point. Like how are you going to give back someday during the future? Is it going to be that political realm? Because also when I think of like politics and stuff, something that a lot of people enjoy about it, and me and my friend were just talking about this cuz he wants to get into politics someday. But it's like you have the two different impacts of it, like or motivations for it. So on the one side, it's like you really are changing people's lives. Like the decisions you're making, you are changing people's lives. On the other hand of it, I think a cool part of it is the influence and it is the status and it is kind of the ego that it gives you. And I asked my friend that question. I'm like, this is your goal, this is your drive. What is the percentage breakdown of each? Like what motivates you more? And he's like, I mean, to be honest, like right now, it is more of that, the power and the influence and the control, in which I don't fault him for. And anybody that looks at someone and says, "Oh, you want to do this because you want to feel important or have like influence and whatever," dude, they're just full of shit. And they probably want more power and influence in every single person. Like it is a normal human trait to want to go out there and have influence and impact and to be known and desired. That's why you do every single thing. It's just a random thought, but I wanted to bring that up.
I mean, that totally makes sense. I mean, for me, what I think about is through running for office, my dad's been shot at, he's sued at practically every week. He's, criminalized in the media. He gets so much hate and anti-Semitism. That's just not something I'd want to go through and push through, even if I'm making an impact. Like for my
Mm.
dad to go through all that stuff and still use that to motivate him to work harder is admirable and something that honestly I'm not sure I could do. I am more motivated to act and make an impact through entrepreneurship as opposed to running for office.
What was it like going to Brown? Like you're at an Ivy
Mhm.
League. There's a lot of kids that don't get to experience that.
I was very fortunate to have the opportunity and even more lucky that my parents could, give me the education that led me into getting into Brown. Getting into Brown and, going there is honestly much more normal than you'd expect. It's you don't feel like you're going to Brown. You're just going to school with your friends. There are people that get just as drunk as they would if they went to Auburn, and there are still, friend groups and drama, and it's really much more normal than you'd expect. The dorms are not nice. You're like, I've heard WashU has great dorms.
They do.
Um, and yeah, like it's still you're still in Providence, Rhode Island. It's like cloudy and rainy 5 days a week still, and like the food isn't great. It's a
If
lot
you
more normal than you'd expect.
if you were to think of, I love asking people that went to good schools this question. But like if you're thinking back on your years there, and there's the what is the number one single best thing that you took away from going to that school?
No doubt, my friends. I mean, I think that's the most valuable thing ever. The education at Brown you can get from ChatGPT or Khan Academy or YouTube, but you can't get the relationships you built, the memories you have, and that to me is the most valuable thing that I've gotten from Brown, and I'm so thankful for it.
And how has that helped you?
I'm not sure if there's a clear ROI on having friends. I think it's helped me a lot mentally,
Yeah.
and but I didn't. There hasn't been a specific instance where oh, because my friend's dad is this, I did that. But um, I I just love my friends and I'm happy to have them.
Like, when I ask that question because and I got you, but, like, when I think about my time at WashU too, it's like the best thing 100% was the people I met there, and it was my friends. And to paint a picture of who I was before this college, I was a kid in high school, I didn't drink, I didn't party, I followed every single rule, I got straight A students, I did not rebel for anything. That was who I was. And I get to college at the start, I'm still the same way. And then sophomore year baseball comes around and it rocked my world. And I was just like, I'm like fed up with this dude. Like there was some stuff going on with the culture of the team and this and that. And I was seeing how things are going. And it's just like everybody was just blindly following everything. And I'm just like, this is not the way that this should be. Like if you don't agree with something, at some point you got to live for yourself. That really, really changed my perspective. And then I met this other friend pledging through my fraternity. And this kid, Joe Saviano, he the most like out there kid you could think of. Maybe that's not a good way to put it, but like very anti corporate route, very anti any typical thing that we would like to do. Like he's all on his own time. He really values freedom, super disciplined. But like spending time with that kid really opened up my eyes and perspective with how much more like you can really do out there and you can follow your own path and you can rebel. It's okay, bro. Like you don't have to follow every single thing that everybody else is doing. You don't have to stay constrained in this little box because you fear what other people think about you. And like being around someone like that and going to school like WashU, and you mentioned ROI. That ROI is infinite. Like there's nothing I can ever trade for a relationship like that because of how it's developed me into the person I am today. And so after hearing that example, does something like that come to mind?
That's a very powerful example. And I'm not sure I have a clear example like that, but I think for me, I developed a lot emotionally at Brown. And I don't think it was necessarily from one person, but an amalgamation of experiences in the friends I met along the way. Like some friends may have gotten me more confident in talking to others, and some may have, helped me find what I may like professionally and push me to try more career paths or
Yeah.
businesses. And some I love chopping it up and just throwing out business ideas at the wall with. So I don't have quite as cool of an experience like that, but I did have a fun 4 years at Brown.
Yeah, it's lit. And if you see sweat right now, bro, it's because dude, we don't have AC in this place, and my AC thing is it's loud, so turn it off. But I'm not getting nervous. I got an interesting question for you. All right, so
Mhm.
what's something that you've always desired, but once you got it, it didn't entirely fulfill you? Like something you put on a pedestal.
This is probably one of my favorite questions to answer, and I'm really glad you asked this because what I've realized throughout my life is that a lot of these achievements don't really matter. When
Mm,
I was applying to colleges, I took the ACT 6 times. On the sixth time, I got the 35. I got my dream score. I'm like, let's go. I'm going to get into Brown and like all these schools, and it's going to be awesome. Turns out I go to school the next day, nothing changed. I was shocked. No one's treating me the same. I'm still the same Daniel. So, I mean, like, and I didn't get into Brown. I actually got deferred and then got in regular. So, once that ACT happened, I was like, wait, like, it's kind of crazy. I worked so hard for something. I think it's going to change my life. And then it doesn't. And there was something else that happened. Oh, and then when you're at Brown, you got to get into a club, for pre-professional stuff. I
yeah.
work hard to get into the club. I finally get into the club. Nothing happens. I don't like all of a sudden have a girlfriend because of it or something. And then I'm like grinding for the summer internship at Bain. I didn't get it. And I got the full-time role, still the same Daniel. It's not like I all of a sudden, like get 20,000 followers on LinkedIn or have this cool audience. Like nothing happens because of it. So I think through all those experiences, I've just realized like one experience or one thing or one resume can't define you. It's like, and I think that's a really important lesson for the audience, hopefully too, if they're, super deeping over something.
So do you think that like how are you going to take that and apply that to the future? Because like we always still want more, and you want those status symbols because you think it's gonna make you feel something. But is there really a way to ever not try to push towards that? Like, you just gonna stop, or what are you gonna do in the future?
I think there's a difference between pushing yourself and towards like pushing towards like a status thing. Like I think the most important thing is to not let it define you, because once you let the 35 ACT score, once you let the Brown alumni status define you,
Yeah.
you've lost who you are. Just because you went to Wash, you were Brown, that doesn't mean like you're gonna get a job. Like the reality is, you get a job because of who you are. Like if I was gonna hire someone for my startup, I wouldn't just hire anyone randomly because they went to Brown. You'd like want to talk to them first and like know them and like maybe do a few assessments or something. And I think
Yeah.
that's an important lesson of like the difference between like status and who you are. I think it like just happens that a lot of people who work hard tend to get some of these like status things or whatever.
And yes, and you wanna know, you mentioned, like, hiring people. Have you hired people before and had employees and team members?
I have, and it's been extremely difficult, and I've learned a lot. Viral EDs was my first experience where I would have my friends work in my garage. And as you can imagine, trying to coordinate 10 seniors coming to your house during COVID wasn't like the easiest thing, and then paying them too.
Yeah.
And that was my first experience. And then, like, what if someone doesn't show up? You needed to make the lights. Like, what do you do there? And then also with place to place too, finding co-founders. That wasn't an inherently easy decision either, but we got it done.
What do you look for when you hire people?
I think the number one thing I look for is drive, because when it came to place, for example, I couldn't pay them anything. I was just selling each other on a vision. And when I was selling them on place to place, I had maybe 2,000 LinkedIn followers at the time. I had not posted a lot and had no traction. So I'm really just looking to see if they can believe in something and be willing to put in as much time as I am to believe and work towards something cool.
Bingo, bro. Bingo. If you're listening to this podcast right now and you wanna go work for someone, do not ever go and try to work for that person and demand some amount of money, or do some amount of work and then constantly be going and trying to ask for rate. Do you wanna know the easiest way to uh irritate someone who runs a business? Is start doing that, because at the end of the day, when you don't have a lot of money, and Daniel, I want to get your opinion on this, but when you're young and you don't have a ton of money, what you need and what you want, because you are so fired up about your business and you have so much passion about your business, so what you want is you want the people that work for you to have the exact same drive. That is the best way to make someone happy that is running some business that you want to work under. And guess what? This is the amazing thing. While you may not get paid a ton in the short run because stuff is tight sometimes, the loyalty and the relationship that you're going to build with that person by freaking going above and beyond 24/7 is infinite. Like, it's so hard to describe the feelings and the emotions and the bond and the loyalty, how much that is appreciated when you are working for someone in the early stages of business, when they really need you to get bought in on the vision and just buy in and start doing a little bit more work than you can be compensated for. And someday, holy shit, you will be rewarded so much more than you can imagine. But it's a huge thing that it, like, fires me up, and I get into this stuff a bunch. But do you agree? Do you have any pushbacks? What's your take on after hearing that?
I think you bring up a great point. The reality is, I wouldn't have been able to work with my co-founder if they had insisted paying, and we couldn't have had the impact we had. But because we were both willing to not work for any money or equity, we were able to, help over 10,000 people save money on flights, which is a pretty cool thing to do.
Yeah, it's about over deliver, over deliver, over deliver. Absolutely. All right. Well, we are getting to the end of this podcast. Is there anything else that we haven't touched base on that fires you up?
That fires me up. Um, that's a great question. I have a brother who's a junior at Brown. he fires me up and motivates me a lot. I got to set a good example for him, and I just try to stay dialed.
And you're cooking up bagels in the kitchen, right?
That's right. A fun project with him is we're cooking protein bagels right now. They're at 195 calories, 23 grams of protein. And the key metric here is that they're 1.0 on the P to CAS scale. And what that stands for is protein, digested, something amino acid score. And that means that 100% of the protein is bioavailable. You'll see that a lot of other plant-based stuff is not 100% bioavailable. So like if it were to be made with just like from rice, for example, that's like 20%. So then you need like the beans to make it 100%. So our bagels right now are 195 calories, 23 grams of protein, 1.0 P to CAS. You can't buy them yet, but it'll probably be like a year or so at least. But we're having a great time doing it.
Let me get a bag of those once you cook that up. Are they coming in different flavors or what is it?
Right now, we just have plain and everything. I guess we can make a sesame too, because that's pretty easy to make given the stuff. But yeah, although sesame is one of the top 9 allergens.
No, I don't.
They just got added in like 2022 by the FDA. Yeah.
Do you have? I can't relate to people who are allergic to a lot of stuff because I'm not allergic to anything. But I know there's some people that are legitimately allergic to everything. Is that you?
I'm fortunate to not have an allergy, but my cousin actually has a pretty bad sesame allergy, and I felt really bad for him when we were traveling to the Middle East. A lot of stuff like with hummus, tahini, whatever. It was a tough trip for him.
And that's pretty good food, bro. I was just in
it was very good.
Over the summer I was in Turkey, and we went to Egypt and stuff. And so they have a lot of like the hummus, and I don't know the names of this stuff, but I mean, I gained 15 pounds from the trip, but yeah, it's fire ass food. Not gonna lie.
And that's the difficult part. When you don't understand the language, it's just brutal.
Yeah, you get cooked, bro. But you got to be on guard because I don't know how severe the thing is, but I imagine we had a really scary thing where a girl at our school actually passed away from a peanut allergy. From a peanut allergy. She lived in my building. She's on the 3rd floor. Like some of my really good female friends were like best friends with this girl. And we got a text over the summer, not this summer, last summer, that she passed away from a peanut allergy, which is like, it's like really hard to wrap your head around. But yeah, no, that just brought up a point. Oh shit, I don't mean to end this on a sad note, but damn.
No, I mean that's an awful story.
Yeah, not good. But
So
anyway,
sad.
All right, Daniel, thank you for coming to Gross Potential. A lot of good stuff we chatted up, bro. I think the future is very bright for you. So it was a pleasure chopping it up.